Have you ever wondered how Sparta, one of the most formidable military powers in ancient Greece, fell into oblivion? Let's take a step back in time, to when Sparta was at the zenith of its power, a time when its name echoed with respect and fear across the Hellenic world. Spartan warriors were the epitome of discipline and bravery, a living testament to their city-state's rigorous military training. From the tender age of 7, Spartan boys were molded into soldiers, their lives a relentless cycle of training, discipline, and warfare. Sparta was not just a military powerhouse, it was a society unlike any other in ancient Greece. At the heart of this unique society was the Helot system, a form of serfdom that allowed Spartans to focus on their military duties. The Helots, though vastly outnumbering their masters, were kept in check through fear and intimidation, a testament to Spartan control and strategy. The Peloponnesian War, a grueling 27-year conflict with Athens, saw Sparta emerge as the dominant power in Greece. Their disciplined phalanx, their strategic prowess, their unyielding spirit, all came to the fore during this war. It was Spartan resilience and military superiority that ultimately led to their victory, marking the peak of their power and influence. However, Spartan society was not without its flaws. Their rigid adherence to tradition, their resistance to change, and their dependence on the Helot system were just the tip of the iceberg. And while their military might was legendary, it also cast a long, ominous shadow over their future. For a society so steeped in warfare, peace proved to be a challenging concept to embrace. But even the mighty Sparta was not immune to the inevitable tides of change and decline. As we delve deeper into the story of Sparta, we'll see how this invincible city-state, which had once stood tall against the might of Athens, gradually succumbed to a series of internal and external pressures. This is the tale of the fall of Sparta, a tale of power, pride, and the inevitable passage of time. The beginning of the end for Sparta started with a single catastrophic battle. This was the Battle of Leuctra, a seismic event in Spartan history that took place in 371 BC. The Theban army, under the charismatic leadership of Epaminondas, faced off against the Spartans on the battlefield. The Spartans, who had been the undisputed masters of land warfare for centuries, were confident in their superiority and their ability to triumph. However, the Thebans, using innovative tactics and strategies, managed to outmaneuver and defeat the Spartan forces. This was a shock to the Hellenic world. The Spartans, who were considered an invincible force, had been beaten. The Battle of Leuctra shattered the aura of invincibility that had surrounded Sparta for so long. The Theban victory did more than just inflict a military defeat, it cracked the Spartan myth, the belief in their invincibility. This defeat had far-reaching consequences. It led to the revolt of the Messenian Helots, the enslaved population that formed the backbone of the Spartan economy and military. For centuries, the Spartans had relied on the labor of the Helots to maintain their society and their military dominance. However, with the spark of the Theban victory, the Helots rose in revolt, seeking to throw off the Spartan yoke. This revolt caused a severe manpower shortage in Sparta. Without the Helots, Sparta struggled to maintain its agricultural output and to field its army. This manpower crisis weakened Sparta, making it vulnerable to further attacks and making it harder for it to assert its dominance. The Helot revolt, sparked by the Theban victory at Leuctra, was a devastating blow to Sparta. The defeat at Leuctra and the subsequent Helot revolt marked the beginning of the end for Sparta. These events shattered its image of invincibility and weakened it both economically and militarily. The defeat at Leuctra was a blow from which Sparta would never fully recover. The Spartan society was built on the backs of the Helots, and without them, it began to crumble. Imagine a society where an enslaved population outnumbers the ruling class 7-1. Welcome to Sparta. The Helots, a subjugated people, were the lifeblood of Spartan society. They toiled the fields, provided the food, and were the backbone of the Spartan economy. But what happens when the backbone snaps? Let's travel back in time to when Sparta began to lose its grip on the Helots. The Helots were not slaves in the traditional sense. They were more like serfs tied to the land they worked. They had families, they could practice religion, and they could accumulate a little bit of wealth. But they were also brutally oppressed, subjected to random acts of violence and humiliation to keep them in check. But the Helots were not passive victims. They resisted, they rebelled, and when the opportunity arose, they fled. Over time, Sparta's harsh treatment turned the Helots from a subjugated population into a simmering rebellion, and when the rebellion boiled over, it was a severe blow to Sparta. But it wasn't just the loss of the Helots that spelled doom for Sparta. The city-state also began to lose its allies. Sparta's military might had once commanded respect and fear, but its rigid and harsh rule was not conducive to maintaining alliances. One by one, city-states began to pull away, leaving Sparta increasingly isolated. Without the Helots, Sparta's economy faltered. Without its allies, Sparta's military might was diminished. The rigid, harsh Spartan way of life, which had once made the city-state a formidable power, was now its Achilles heel. The loss of the Helots and the allies was a 1-2 punch that Sparta could not recover from. It was a stark reminder that power built on oppression and fear is inherently unstable and prone to collapse. Without their Helots and allies, Sparta was a lion without its teeth. In 222 BC, the final nail in Sparta's coffin was hammered in at the Battle of Sellasia. The stage was set for an epic confrontation, a fight for the very survival of Sparta. The Spartans held their ground against a formidable alliance of the Achaean League and Macedonians. But alas, the once invincible Sparta was to face a defeat that would mark the end of its independence. The Battle of Sellasia was not merely a clash of arms but a collision between two contrasting worlds. On one side, the old Spartan way of life, steeped in tradition and discipline. On the other, the combined forces of the Achaean League and Macedonians, representing a new age of Hellenistic power. The Spartan king, Cleomenes III, led his troops valiantly into battle. He was determined to restore Sparta's former glory, even if it meant defying overwhelming odds. Despite their heroic efforts, the Spartans were outnumbered and outmatched. The allied forces of the Achaean League and Macedonians stormed the Spartan lines, breaking their once impenetrable phalanx. The defeat was catastrophic. The Spartans, once the undisputed masters of warfare, were vanquished on their home soil. This defeat was not just a military loss, but a symbolic one. The Spartan way of life, their societal structure, their very identity was under threat. And with the Battle of Sellasia, it all came crashing down. In the aftermath of the battle, Sparta was absorbed into the Achaean League. The city that had once dictated the course of Greek history was now a mere member of a larger federation. The proud and independent city-state of Sparta, with its unique social and political structure, was no more. The Battle of Sellasia was more than just a military defeat for Sparta. It was the end of an era, a turning point in history that marked the decline of one of the most dominant powers in ancient Greece. The Spartan flame that had once burnt so brightly was now but a flicker in the annals of history. With the loss at Sellasia, the sun finally set on the Spartan Empire. The Battle of Sellasia was not just the end of Sparta, but a poignant reminder of the impermanence of power and the inevitability of change. The fall of Sparta marked the end of an era in ancient Greece. As we've journeyed through the rise and fall of the city-state of Sparta, we've seen how the tides of history can shift dramatically. Sparta, once considered invincible, succumbed to a series of events that slowly but surely led to its downfall. The Battle of Leuctra was a turning point. It was here that the myth of Spartan invincibility was shattered as they suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of the Thebans. This loss did more than just tarnish their reputation, it sent shockwaves through the Peloponnesian League, causing many of their allies to rethink their alliances. Then came the revolt of the Helots, the enslaved majority that Sparta had long relied on for agriculture and labor. Their uprising further weakened Sparta, disrupting their economy and military structure. This internal conflict served to amplify the external threats Sparta was facing. The loss of allies was another blow. As Sparta's power waned, many of their former allies turned against them, further isolating the once mighty city-state. This isolation made them vulnerable, a vulnerability that was exploited in the Battle of Sellasia. The defeat at Sellasia was the final blow. The Spartans fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. This defeat marked the end of Sparta's military dominance and their influence in Greece. But what of the aftermath? In the wake of Sparta's fall, its legacy lived on. The ideals of Spartan discipline, courage, and sacrifice continued to be admired and emulated throughout history. Sparta's military training system inspired many, and its unique societal structure has been the subject of much study and debate. And so, the city known for its warriors and discipline was reduced to a mere shadow of its former self, reminding us that even the greatest powers can fall. Even so, the echoes of Sparta's strength and valor continue to reverberate through the annals of history.